Your habits are the silent partners shaping your future. The question is, are they building you or slowly breaking you? Ladies and gentlemen, if you truly understood the value of a single habit, you would guard your days with the same intensity as a banker guards a vault. Because your habits, those tiny, almost invisible actions you repeat daily, are deciding your future long before you see the results. Most people don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because they underestimate the power of small choices. A small discipline repeated over time becomes a massive advantage, and a small neglect repeated over time becomes a disaster waiting to unfold. Today, I want to share with you a simple truth. Success doesn't come from big leaps. It comes from small steps, done daily, consistently, quietly, until the world cannot ignore the results. Stay with me until the very end, because the habits we will discuss today are simple, but they carry the power to reshape your entire future. If you want results that last, if you want growth that compounds, then this message might be the turning point you've been waiting for. Small daily disciplines often look so ordinary that most people dismiss them as unimportant, yet they hold the quiet power to reshape an entire life. When you choose a small discipline, you are choosing a direction. You might not notice the change after a day, a week, or even a month, but the universe always keeps a record of your consistency. A few pages read each day won't make you wise overnight, but they begin feeding your mind with new ideas, opening new possibilities, expanding new ways of thinking that over time shift your decisions. A few dollars saved each day won't make you wealthy instantly, but they start forming the habit of control, awareness, and responsibility toward your financial future. A short walk, a few stretches, a small workout might not transform your body in a week, but every small session builds the discipline that strengthens your relationship with your health. These little actions are like seeds, and every day you water them, they silently grow roots beneath the surface long before anything appears above ground. The challenge with small disciplines is that they are deceptively easy. They require no dramatic effort and no great sacrifice. That's why most people ignore them. They want something big, something impressive, something that gives immediate results, but life rarely rewards that kind of thinking. Life rewards the person who shows up daily, especially when there is no applause. The small disciplines you practice in private prepare you for the big opportunities that appear in public. You might not be able to change everything in one day, but you can always change your direction in one day. And direction, over time, becomes destiny. Every small discipline sends a message to your mind about who you are becoming. When you read a few pages every night, you are telling yourself that your growth matters. When you write your goals each morning, you are telling yourself that your future matters. When you put away your phone during productive hours, you are telling yourself that your time matters. These actions might feel small, but each one strengthens your self-image. And the stronger your self-image, the more disciplined you naturally become. Discipline isn't just what you do, it's who you think you are. And small daily actions slowly shift your identity in the direction of success. Success is built on the foundation of repeated behaviors that compound. Just like a bricklayer placing one brick at a time, you lay the foundation of your life through repeated disciplined actions. One brick doesn't build a wall, but one brick placed consistently every day eventually creates a barrier strong enough to protect your dreams. The same is true for personal growth. One act of discipline doesn't transform you, but persistence does. Over time, your habits accumulate into a structure that supports your goals. Small disciplines also guard you from downfall. Neglect rarely appears in big dramatic ways. It usually begins with small decisions, skipping one workout, spending a little extra money without planning, ignoring one opportunity to learn, staying up late one night, and letting it become a pattern. Neglect is silent in the beginning, just like discipline. But neglect leads you downward, just as discipline leads you upward. The danger is that both feel harmless in the moment. Eating one unhealthy meal won't ruin your body, but repeating it daily weakens your health. Missing one day of productive work won't destroy your dreams, but repeated procrastination slowly eats away disciplined action, or neglected responsibility. The power of small daily disciplines is not in the action itself, but in the consistency. Anyone can wake up early once. Anyone can read a book for a day. Anyone can save money for a week. But the person who does it every day, especially when motivation disappears, is the one who separates themselves from the crowd. Motivation is temporary, but discipline creates habits, and habits create results. The goal is not to act when you feel inspired, but to act when you feel nothing at all. Another reason small disciplines matter is because they create momentum. Once you start a small positive habit, you begin to trust yourself more. This self-trust creates internal momentum, making the next discipline easier. When you wake up early and complete a task, you feel more capable of completing the next one. When you finish a workout, you feel more capable of eating healthy. Momentum pushes you forward, and once it begins, it becomes harder to stop than it was to start. Many people struggle not because they lack ability, but because they lack momentum. And momentum is built by tiny actions repeated until they become part of your identity. Small disciplines also open doors. Opportunities are often hidden in the spaces where disciplined people show up consistently. When you develop the habit of learning continuously, ideas begin connecting, solutions begin appearing, insights begin forming. When you discipline yourself to practice a skill daily, your competence grows, and competence attracts opportunities. People notice those who are consistent, reliable, and committed. This creates a type of attraction that shortcuts years of struggle. You become the kind of person others trust, and trust is one of the greatest currencies in life. To build these small disciplines, you don't need perfection. You only need intention and consistency. Even if you fail one day, the key is to return the next day. Perfection is unrealistic, but persistence is powerful. By committing to a few small habits each day, reading, planning, saving, exercising, you set in motion a chain reaction of improvements. Each discipline supports the next discipline. Each small action strengthens the next small action. Over time, this creates a lifestyle built on purpose rather than impulse. The truth is this: every day, your habits are shaping your future. Every small discipline you choose is a step toward a life of strength, clarity, and success. Every neglect you choose is a step toward difficulty, regret, and limitation. Small disciplines build the life you want, and small neglects build the life you wish you avoided. The choice is always yours. Your philosophy is the starting point of everything you do, because before a habit is formed, a belief is formed. Every action you take, every routine you follow, every choice you repeat comes from the way you think about life, opportunity, discipline, work responsibility, and your own potential. If your philosophy tells you that effort is pointless, then, no matter how many goals you set, your habits will never support them. But if your philosophy tells you that effort compounds, that responsibility matters, that the smallest action counts, your habits will naturally align with that belief. A strong philosophy shapes strong habits, and strong habits build a strong life. This is why two people can receive the same advice, the same opportunity, the same 24 hours, yet one rises and the other stays stuck. The difference isn't talent, it's philosophy. Your philosophy becomes the filter through which you interpret everything. If you believe that hard work leads to progress, you welcome discipline. If you believe that nothing you do makes a difference, you avoid it. Your habits always reveal your philosophy. A person who wakes up early to plan their day believes in the power of preparation. A person who invests time in learning believes in growth. A person who consistently avoids responsibility believes that life happens to them, not through them. So when we examine our habits, we are really examining the underlying philosophy steering those habits. And when we upgrade our philosophy, we automatically upgrade our behavior. Every successful person you admire lives by a philosophy that demands more from them than comfort. They believe in the value of effort. They believe in the process of growth. They believe that discipline is freedom and that excuses are traps. They believe that how you do anything is how you do everything. That deep belief drives consistent actions. But this philosophy didn't appear overnight. It was cultivated, learned, challenged, refined, tested through experience, and strengthened through discipline. Your philosophy grows the same way, through conscious reflection and consistent intention. Your philosophy is also shaped by the voices you listen to. If you surround yourself with people who complain, who blame, who expect outcomes without effort, your philosophy becomes passive. You begin to think that life is something you endure. But when you surround yourself with ideas that challenge you, push you, and invite you to rise higher, your philosophy becomes active. You begin to think that life is something you create. What you read, who you listen to, what you watch, and the conversations you entertain all pour into your philosophy. The mind is open soil, and every idea you plant influences the habits that grow from it. Your philosophy determines how you respond to difficulty. When challenges come, and they will, your philosophy becomes your internal compass. If your philosophy says difficulty is a sign to quit, your habits collapse under pressure. But if your philosophy says difficulty is part of growth, your habits become tougher, more disciplined, more consistent. People don't rise above adversity because they have extraordinary willpower. They rise because their philosophy tells them adversity is temporary and growth is permanent. A weak philosophy breaks easily. A strong philosophy pushes through. The way you interpret time is also shaped by your philosophy. Some people see time as something to pass. Others see time as something to invest. If your philosophy treats time casually, your habits will follow that pattern. You'll waste hours without noticing. But if your philosophy sees time as the most valuable asset you possess, your habits reflect respect toward it. You plan your days. You eliminate distractions. You focus on what matters. This isn't about being rigid. It's about being intentional. A person with a strong philosophy doesn't give time away carelessly because they understand the direction of their life is built through the use of their hours. Your philosophy influences how you view responsibility. There are people who carry the mindset that everything happening in their life is someone else's fault, and so they take no responsibility for change. Their habits mirror this belief. They wait instead of act. They hope instead of plan. They repeat the same mistakes instead of learning from them. But those who accept personal responsibility develop habits that reflect ownership. They review, adjust, grow, improve, and move forward because they believe their decisions matter. Responsibility isn't a burden, it's a privilege, and only those with the right philosophy understand that. Your philosophy also determines your expectations. Some people expect little from themselves and settle for routines that match that expectation. Others expect greatness, not in an arrogant way, but in a disciplined way. They believe that they can improve, that they can grow, that they can build skills, that they can create opportunities. This expectation shapes their habits. They show up even when it's inconvenient. They put in effort even when no one notices. They push themselves because they believe their future is worth it. Your life rises or falls to the level of the expectations your philosophy creates. The connection between philosophy and habits becomes even clearer when you consider consistency. Consistency is never an accident. It is the result of a philosophy that values discipline over mood. People who depend on motivation are inconsistent because motivation is temporary. People who depend on philosophy-driven discipline are consistent because philosophy doesn't fluctuate. When you believe deeply in the value of your actions, you don't need to feel inspired to take them. You act because your philosophy tells you that doing the work matters, especially on the days you don't want to. Your philosophy also affects how you interpret results. If you believe results should come quickly, you become impatient. Your habits weaken because you stop before progress compounds. But if your philosophy understands that growth takes time, you remain steady. You keep putting in the work. You don't abandon the process because you believe the process works. This is why philosophy is more powerful than motivation. Motivation pushes you momentarily. Philosophy guides you permanently. Another crucial part of philosophy is the belief in cause and effect. Every habit has a consequence. Every action plants a seed. People who understand cause and effect build habits that support long-term rewards. They see beyond the moment. They act today with the future in mind. But those who ignore cause and effect build habits based on impulse, pleasure, or comfort. They sacrifice the future for the present because their philosophy doesn't acknowledge the long-term cost of short-term decisions. When you understand the law of cause and effect, your habits become intentional. You begin acting like someone who understands the weight of every choice. Your philosophy even shapes your environment. People with strong philosophies don't wait for the perfect environment. They create one. They design routines that support their goals. They remove temptation. They surround themselves with reminders of their values. They protect their energy and guard their mental space. This is because their philosophy tells them environment matters. And when your philosophy tells you something matters, your habits shift accordingly. Ultimately, your philosophy is the invisible blueprint guiding everything you do. Before any habit is formed, a belief is formed. Before any behavior is repeated, a thought is repeated. Your life is always following your philosophy, whether you realize it or not. And the moment you decide to upgrade your philosophy, your beliefs about effort, discipline, responsibility, time, growth, and possibility, you begin reshaping the habits that determine the direction of your life. Compounding is one of the most powerful forces in life, yet it's also one of the most misunderstood. Most people think compounding applies only to money, but in truth, it applies far more to your habits, your behavior, your discipline, your mindset, and your daily routine. Every action you take deposits something into your future, and over time, those deposits either multiply in your favor or grow into obstacles you later have to overcome. When you repeat a small positive habit, you are not just doing something simple. You are feeding the mechanism of compounding. And when you repeat a small negative habit, you are feeding the same mechanism in the opposite direction. Compounding does not judge. It simply multiplies whatever you give it. The idea that small behaviors compound is both the greatest gift and the greatest warning life offers. You could read 10 pages of a book today, and it may look like nothing happened. You may not feel smarter. You may not feel more capable. But 10 pages a day becomes 70 pages a week, 300 pages a month, thousands of pages a year. Your mind sharpens, your perspective widens, your understanding deepens. And from that improved understanding, your decisions change. Your opportunities change. Your life changes. This transformation didn't come from a single large effort. It came from the steady compounding of tiny actions that didn't seem significant at the time. In the same way, saving a little money doesn't feel like wealth. Skipping a workout doesn't feel like weakness. Procrastinating for a day doesn't feel like failure. But the subtlety is the danger. Neglect never announces itself with alarms. It whispers. It disguises itself as comfort, as harmless, as temporary. But once neglect compounds, it creates the kind of life where struggles multiply faster than solutions. Compound interest works in finances, but so does compounded debt. Compound discipline builds your future, but so does compounded procrastination destroy it. Life will always magnify what you feed it through the power of compounding. And that's why understanding this principle is vital. Many people underestimate compounding because they expect instant progress. They want results today, proof today, transformation today. But compounding doesn't work on the timeline of impatience. It works on the timeline of persistence. The early stages of compounding always feel slow, extremely slow. So slow that most people quit before the rewards begin to appear. They read for a few days and see no change. They go to the gym for a week and see no difference. They save money for a month and their account looks almost the same. Their mind interprets the slow pace as failure, but what they don't realize is that most of compounding's power is invisible in the beginning. The curve is flat at first, barely moving. Then suddenly it begins to rise until the growth becomes unstoppable. This happens in every area of life. The person who practices a skill daily feels they're barely improving. Then one day their competency leaps forward and others call it talent. The person who shows kindness and patience consistently builds relationships so strong that opportunities flow to them naturally, and others call it luck. The person who makes small disciplined choices for years creates a life of stability, health, and success, Yet outsiders only see the final stage, not the countless small actions that compounded over time. Compounding hides its progress in the early stages and reveals its rewards in the later stages, and only those who stay consistent ever experience the breakthrough. One of the most important truths about compounding is that it becomes easier over time. When you begin a habit, everything feels heavy. The resistance is high. Your mind questions the effort, but once compounding takes hold, momentum begins to push you forward. The behavior becomes part of your identity. What was once difficult becomes natural. And when habits become natural, they become powerful because you no longer have to negotiate with yourself. This is the beauty of compounding, not just growth, but ease. Not just progress, but flow. The effort multiplies, but so does the discipline, the clarity, and the internal strength that supports it. Compounding also builds confidence. Each time you keep a promise to yourself, you grow in self-trust. And with self-trust, you develop the belief that you can handle more, achieve more, and become more. This belief fuels your consistency. Consistency fuels compounding. And compounding delivers results that reinforce your belief even further. It becomes a cycle of growth that builds on itself. This is why small daily actions matter far more than occasional bursts of effort. Bursts fade, habits accumulate, and accumulated habits are the raw material of a transformed life. Some people fall into the trap of thinking they need a dramatic plan to change their life. But dramatic plans rarely last. Sustainable change always comes from the smallest repeated actions. Drinking water instead of soda, reading instead of scrolling, walking instead of sitting, listening instead of reacting, planning instead of drifting. These may seem trivial, but each one compounds. Each one creates a tiny return. And tiny returns, over months and years, build an entirely new version of you. Another important aspect of compounding is awareness. You must become aware of what you are allowing to compound. Every habit compounds. Every decision compounds. Every attitude compounds. Gratitude compounds into happiness. Negativity compounds into dissatisfaction. Learning compounds into wisdom. Complaining compounds into helplessness. Focus compounds into mastery. Distraction compounds into regret. The direction of your life is shaped not by single events, but by what you allow to multiply. Compounding teaches patience, discipline, and long-term thinking. When you understand this principle, you stop chasing shortcuts. You stop expecting immediate results. You stop comparing yourself to others. You start respecting time. You start valuing consistency. You start recognizing that slow, steady growth is far more powerful than fast, unsustainable change. The person who embraces compounding becomes calmer, wiser, more intentional, because they understand that every day holds an opportunity to invest in their future. Consistency is the engine of compounding, but discipline is the fuel. You will not always feel motivated. You will not always feel inspired. But if your philosophy tells you that small actions matter, you will act even without excitement. This is where compounding becomes life-changing. When you choose discipline repeatedly, you build a force within yourself that is stronger than mood, stronger than excuse, stronger than circumstance. That force is what allows compounding to continue long after others have quit. In life, very few things are truly powerful on their own. A single book, a single workout, a single dollar saved. These do almost nothing in isolation, but when you do them daily, they become unstoppable. Compounding is the silent architect behind every extraordinary life. The challenge is that it asks for patience in a world that rewards immediacy, consistency in a world that rewards convenience, and discipline in a world that rewards comfort. But those who understand compounding know that the greatest rewards are delayed, the greatest transformations are gradual, and the greatest successes are built one small step at a time. Imagine where your life could be 1 year from now if you added just one small discipline today. Imagine 5 years from now. Imagine 10. The future version of you is being shaped right now through the compounding of your current habits. Every day you choose to grow, the curve bends upward. Every day you choose to neglect, the curve bends downward. The most important thing to remember is that the curve is always bending. It never stays flat. The question is simply whether it's bending toward the life you want or away from it.